Mike, I hope you're having a great afternoon. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it, bud.
You know, Mike, it's prediction time. And do you like this
Okay.
time of the year with all the preseason predictions, the magazines? And I've seen your photo collection or some of it on Twitter from time to time. And I think I noticed a couple of those preseason magazines spread throughout your display of history.
Oh, you're damn right. I'm a gambler. I love it. I like to listen. In life, you got to take a chance. I'm not a trained journalist. Okay, I'm an engineer. But I learned from some of the best. One thing, my old friend Buddy Diliberto used to always tell me, Mike, don't ever be afraid to be wrong. He would, he's passed away now. It's been 13 years. He would drop today, hearing some of these people that are script readers and refuse to go out and make a prediction on anything. Come on, what do you got to lose? That you wrong? Man, don't be afraid to be wrong in life. Take that out, take that chance, and I like this time of the year to do that. I really do.
I do too, and it's kind of like you give a chance to kind of spread your wings a little bit and talk about some of the other teams. Let me look at LSU. When you look at their football team, what's the areas that you're concerned about, and maybe the area that might prevent them from being the team in the SEC West?
I don't know anything about a freshman kicker. He ain't kicking one ball. And I did a Tiger tour last week with Coach O, and they basically proclaimed that Cade York, who is not even on LSU's campus, is going to be their field goal kicker. You're right, that's a concern. Because he's never been put in that situation at the collegiate level. To me, filling Cole Tracy's shoes is the biggest. I don't know for LSU, and you're going to play in some games that are tight that Tracy pulled out for you. So that would be one, and number two would be the tackle positions for LSU offensive line wise. Sadiq Charles is really a right tackle playing left because he's the best you got. And Austin Deculus, he has struggled at the right tackle spot. So those two positions to me would be the two that I'd have the biggest concerns about going into the season. Now, that list is real short comparative to a year ago, and they won 10 games. So, but it's crucial because of the way they have changed their offense. You better protect Joe Burrow real good, and the tackle positions are still to be questionable on this LSU team.
Mike, let's spend some time. Is this a LSU, Texas A&M, Alabama, or do you think Auburn's in this conversation too? Is it a four-horse race, or is it just a three?
I think it's a two-horse race. I did take a look at that A&M schedule. And listen, I think the world of Jimbo. When I look at that schedule, it's like, whoa, that's tough. And also, too, when he lost early to the NFL and losing Eric McCoy, who he told me last year at this time he's the best player I have on my team, lost him early to the draft. Travion Williams at the running back position. Jake Sternberger at tight end. That's a chunk you ripped away from your offense, and so I think it's a two-horse race. I think it's Alabama and LSU. It's the best LSU team I've seen. Man, you got to go maybe 6-7 years. From a talent standpoint, it's really talented, really good. Now, again, it's going to come down to 3 games for them. Texas early, playing in Austin. I know it's not an SEC game, but you talk about a build-up it's going to be for that one because, just sometimes circumstances get kind of woven in. And, maybe 72 hours before Coach Hill got the job, a lot of people here thought it was going to be Herman. And one of those guys was Joe Oliva, who was not here anymore. And, Herman used that to get that Texas job. He did a good job with it. And there's some bad blood. Herman tried to set up some of these satellite camps here in Texas, and he put a pretty good block on that. And so there's some bad blood there between the two, between LSU, Texas, and Texas is a good football team. Interesting to see how they handle LSU's speed and all across the board defensively. Then Florida, but you got them at home. Sure. This year. And the reason I say that is I don't know how talented this Florida team's going to be. I don't buy that they're going to be the contender and they're going to push Georgia and all this other stuff. I don't quite buy that yet. But I do know that if there has been a tandem coaching that has given LSU fits, it's been Dan Mullen, Grantham as a defensive coordinator. They've given now LSU beat them in the swamp a couple of years back in a game that I thought we were going to lose a couple coaches in that game. One in particular, Pete Jenkins. It was the most. Ed told me afterwards, and I have to agree. I don't know. He said, Mike, I don't know if I'm getting older or if it was just this hot. I had never been so humid in a place before in Gainesville. And I'm telling you, Ryan, it was like you were in a sauna. And, it was so ironic in that game to see these guys at the end of the third quarter, and it looked as though nobody was going to be able to survive. And, man, they played Tom Petty. Tom Petty had just passed away that week, Florida grad. And, man, it almost kind of raised the hair up on your arms. To hear that song and to hear, those 90,000 people in that place singing along. I've covered a lot of games. That one to me is memorable. Not because the game was great. It was the moment. LSU had just taken a pounding and back-to-back game, so to speak, and to have them pull that game out, it was huge. But Florida's been a pain in the yuck to LSU, and Mullen's been a big part of it, and also Grantham as a defensive coordinator, and then certainly Alabama. This is, even if you get past Texas and Florida, and, you staring down an emotional ditch you have not been able to jump, in which you've been close at times, but you have not jumped it. Now, eventually, the law of averages say you're gonna catch Alabama and play a game where they won't play as good, and you play real well. Man, I've been hearing that a long time, and so, but eventually, the odds catch up with you. That way. So I think the SEC West comes down to that ball game, LSU, Alabama, and it wouldn't shock me, Ryan, when they play, both those teams are undefeated.
Mike, the question that CBS put up there, they say one of the biggest question lines, they've got Urban Meyer at USC, Ohio State, the lingering shadow there. But one of the questions is they've got in their top 5 biggest storylines heading into 2019 is how Alabama responds. 44-16. How do you think they'll respond?
Man, that's one of the dumbest things that anybody could write. How do they respond? What? Because they lost in the national championship game? Who the hell's writing this? Okay, you got a winner or a loser. You got to the championship game. Alabama's been in this spot before. Did they forget who the head coach was? So I don't buy any of that. All I know is that cat playing quarterback for them is some kind of football player, and he is surrounded by a lot of good talent. Come on, you look at that receiving core; it's as good as you'll find in college football. They've got to rebuild the offensive line a little bit, but, so what? Everybody else got to do the same thing. Quentin Williams is hard to replace. He's one of those players that, you don't find too many of them that can play like what he can. But, I think their linebacking core this year is better than it was a year ago. And we'll see how well the secondary turns out to be. But, man, Alabama's still who they are. That's great and fine to put on a Twitter feed or something because, people are going to respond to that. But it's asinine. People who put that probably don't cover the SEC. Look how well they've been able to recruit. Look how well they've been able to kind of reload the gun every year. So that's not a concern for me of how good Alabama's going to be. I know how good they're going to be. And maybe early on, the offense may have to carry the defense. But by the time you get 6-7 games in, didn't we have this conversation a year ago? Sort of the same way? That, maybe the offense would have to carry this defense for a little while. And it got them to the national championship game. So one loss puts you in that category. Man, I don't buy any of that.
Mike, I want to go to Auburn for just a couple of minutes. When you break down Auburn and you look at development, because you publish a guide every single draft season, what's going wrong? Why are they not part of the conversation? We're talking about LSU, Alabama, Texas A&M. Why not Auburn?
One, I think you've gotten away from the running game, where they didn't run the football well last year. And they don't put the Auburn, the really good teams that, throughout the years since I've covered the SEC, and it's over 30, they could always run the football effectively. That passing game's great, but you got to have a running game to supplement it. Ryan, I'll ask you, could they run the football well last year?
No, not at all. I mean, they struggled, yeah.
Yeah, they struggled mightily in that category. And then I think that's the big question mark going into this year, is how well they're going to run the football. And now you got a new quarterback, taking over for Jarrett. So on the defensive side of the football, they loaded up front. I mean, they got a monster crew that can get after you. And so you understand that secondary has always been, to me, kind of the weak points where if I can get protection, I can throw the football against you. And so that would be it. But I think the people have kind of caught up to some of what Gus has done offensively in the SEC. They've caught up to some of that. And the inability to run the football effectively, I don't care what you're doing today, it's still a big part of the game. It's why, I hear Orgeron talk about, 3-4 wide outs, and then the last thing he'll say is, but I ain't getting away from the power running game. He always throws that back part in. I'm not getting away from it. Jimbo last year. Okay, Jimbo's known for throwing the football around, but who was their most effective football player? Travion Williams at running back. They threw the football around, but, man, when, push come to shove, it was Travion that bail him out as a runner. They can run the ball. Alabama, same way. I mean, Tua's as good as you'll find. He's the best quarterback I've seen in the SEC since Peyton Manning. But yet they can run the football so well. See, Auburn can't say that today. Can't say it. And I think that's still the cut. And you say, well, running the football, that's passé in the SEC. Oh, really? You watched Kentucky last year? Tell me how good they can throw the football.
Sure.
Kentucky didn't throw the football well last year. Played great defense and ran the ball. When I watched Kentucky a year ago, it reminded me of teams I saw here at LSU with less. They weren't fooling no one. They just came out and they butt you in the mouth and they stuck you the football middle finger and say, okay, go ahead and stop it. if it's that simple. They won a lot of games last year, Kentucky, doing that. Won a lot of games. So I do think it's a big part of it. I still don't understand some of the offensive concepts that I see at Georgia because I think they've gotten away. They got away last year and too quickly from the running game in games that I think they should have kind of held their water. Instead, wanted to throw the football all over the field. Where I thought they had the advantage was this huge offensive line with a couple of really good running backs, and you out there flinging the football all over. And I think Fromm in a couple games got looks that he was not real comfortable with. So you got what you got there. But I do think running the football is imperative, and I think that's the big question mark going into the season for Auburn is can they have balance offensively? Because if I know you're going to throw the football defensively, I can do some things to stop you.
Mike, I want to go to Lincoln Riley. The question out there is, can he take another third transfer quarterback we're very familiar with? I know you and I have spent a lot of time. You've had a chance to talk with Jalen. Can he make that transition in the Lincoln Riley offense? Can they be the same Oklahoma with Jalen Hurts?
It'll be a little bit different. And even Lincoln has made the comment that the offense a year ago was different with what he had than certainly with Baker Mayfield. But, man, I don't think there's a better offensive coach in college football right now than Lincoln Riley. I mean, he's brilliant in what he does. One of the things he told me, he was he did a couple coaching clinics, and I got to talk to him for a few minutes, and he said, one of the things coaches sometimes we get saddled with is plays that we really love, but a quarterback can't do it. And so he says, I make sure that my guys can do it. If they can't, then you know what? I don't call it. But he says, it's my relationship with the quarterbacks that are really the biggest part of all this. Because I want them to tell me what makes them feel comfortable and what doesn't. And I would love to be in that conversation to hear what Jalen tells Lincoln on what he likes from a pitch and catch game and what he doesn't. Because Lincoln, once he knows that, then he will carve you up. He's brilliant doing that and figuring out what a quarterback can do very, very, very well, and then he works around it. And he knew some things with Kyler Murray. One of the things he brought up last year was that until you do it in a game, you're really not exactly sure. But, man, he's really good, and you look that, Jalen's been a high percentage passer in the college ranks already. And the way they pitch and catch the ball, one thing I know what Hurts will find out real quick. Man, these defenses I'm playing against in the Big 12 is a lot easier than it is in the SEC. That's defenses on the back burner, so to speak, for most of these Big 12 teams. So Lincoln's got a great relationship with his quarterbacks, always has been and always has. And I think it's the communication level between the both of them to see what really works there and what doesn't. And he's always about you got to complete in that 68 to 71% passing area. That's something he emphasized. Go back and look at his quarterbacks. If it's East Carolina or Oklahoma, Ron, it's amazing. Almost every one of them hits right in that range of 68 to 71%. That's what he shoots for. And he's made it work. And they're going to be different this year because they have to up front. They've lost 4 people to the National Football League. 4 of those offensive linemen got drafted. And, he still has the big guy at center. But he's also rebuilding that offensive line. And that's a crucial part. Everybody, they look at, Marquise Brown and all that, and nothing against Hollywood. I think he's a tremendous football player. but CeeDee Lamb's pretty good at wide receiver too. I think the big question mark going in for Oklahoma is going to be how quickly he can reassemble their offensive line. Much more so than Jalen, because I think he's got a good idea of what he can do with Jalen, what he can't. But man, when you starting to replace 4 guys up front, that's a big chunk taken out of anybody's offensive game.
Hey, Mike, what do they do on the Bayou for Memorial Day? Do you guys go Cajun or barbecue, ribs, steak? What do you guys do down on the Bayou?
Well, it depends on what's clicking, but last year for me it was boiled crabs.
Ooh.
Yeah, oh yeah, and but we've also I think it was 2 years ago. First time I'd done it, I got it in a big pot and done it outside, but a big crab meat and shrimp gumbo.
Oh man, I mean, I'm just going to be over
because I've done the barbecue thing already. And that's great and fine, but, my 2 kids are, Dad, let's do something a little bit different. So, okay, that works for me.
I love it. I love it. Hey, congrats again on the granddaughter, man. That's awesome. And the arrival last Wednesday, Thursday. I noticed the tweet out there that you put out.
Last Wednesday. I appreciate it. And, man, I got teased. I just got a note and a little package from Coach O, who's out in California now, and he's been teasing me, man, with all these big grandkids. He said you got to have a male somewhere along the line.
He's looking for a recruit in 20 years. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. Yeah. Mike, I appreciate you, man. Have a great week, my friend.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Appreciate it, buddy.